Hmm. Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. This time I saw hashtag AMFAD, All My Friends Are Dead. Long-winded title, I know. This is a horror, slasher horror film from 2024, directed by Marcus Dunstan, and it stars Jade Pettyjohn, Jojo Siwa, Jennifer Enns, Ali Fumiko Whitney, Michaela Russell, Julian Haig, Justin Derrickson, Cardi Wong, and Jack Doopy Smith. In this film, a group of college friends rents an Airbnb for the biggest music festival of the year. But their weekend of partying quickly takes a turn as the group is murdered one by one in correspondence with the seven deadly sins. So, what did I think of AMFAD, All My Friends Are Dead? Um, I can see what this could have been. I just did not like it. And that is a real shame given who directed it. I'm going to have to go into spoilers because I have to talk about some very plot relevant things that irk the fuck out of me. So, spoiler alert. Let me get to the cast. Hmm. Jade Pettyjohn plays Sarah. She's a girl. She's kind of tagging with this group. She's kind of the odd one out, so you know something's up with her immediately. I've never seen this actress before, but I think she did a decent enough job in the lead. Um, I mean, she's very obviously a final girl, but there's a bit more to that. But I didn't mind her. Jojo Siwa plays Colette. She used to be in this friend group, and again, spoilers. She killed herself because, well, killed herself. I'll get to that. Because like she had a crush on one of the girls in the group, and the friend she like apparently uh didn't her version of the events is that she didn't like her back, so she kind of like said I don't like you or whatever in that way, and then she shot herself. Jojo Siwa is one of the main reasons I watched this. I hate Jojo Siwa as like a performer. Like she's definitely talented. She's definitely a talented dancer, but she's one of those like toddlers and tiaras or dance moms types that I just don't care for. Um, she doesn't really do anything in this. Really, all her role is, and she's second billed on the poster. In the movie itself, it says and JoJo Siwa, which is more apt because it's basically a cameo. Um, she she is in a couple flashbacks, says a couple lines near the end of the movie when the flashbacks are fully revealed, and then you see her shoot herself in the head. That's about it for JoJo Siwa. So if you're watching this movie for JoJo Siwa, don't. Uh, Jennifer Enns plays Mona. She's the influencer of the group. She's kind of the leader of the group. She was okay. Ali Fumiko Whitney plays Liv. You get the feeling that she, as a character, didn't have a ton to do with what happened. Um, but I mean, I guess the killer sees it as like she didn't do anything, so she's part of it. She was fine. I didn't mind her acting. Michaela Russell plays Officer Shaw. Never seen this actress before. She's been in a couple other movies apparently, but she was okay. Julian Haig plays LB. He's a character who is an influencer who sleeps with other men's wives and live streams it, which if anybody knows a real life occurrence of this, like that's popular, I'd love to know because that doesn't seem like a very I feel like you'd get in trouble with the law at some point dealing with that. But he was fine. He works in the role. Justin Derrickson plays Will. He's basically the sloth. He's the lazy one. There's barely anything to his character because he barely speaks until like near the end of the film or near when he dies. He was okay. Cardi Wong plays Aaron. He's really in he's really into Sarah. So he's just there's not really much to his character. I remember seeing him in something. I think I saw him in Dragged Across Concrete, maybe, but he seemed familiar. He was fine. Most of the performances aren't even bad. They're just eh. And Jack Doopie Smith plays Guy, who's basically their drug guy. He's not in the film super long, and that's good because he's easily the worst actor. But yeah, and hashtag AMFAD, all my friends are dead. This movie came out like a month ago. It's on Prime currently, and it's gonna be on Tubi in October. This is probably gonna do okay on Tubi, like viewing wise. Um, this is directed by Marcus Dunstan. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar, he did two films that I consider to be some of the best horror films of the past couple decades, which are The Collector from 2009 and its sequel, The Collection. And I would definitely love to go back to these, re-review them, see if I still love them as much as I did. But I remember them being very incredibly entertaining, creepy, off-putting at many times. Yes, they are really gory as well, but I think the gore actually works creepiness-wise, rather than just to be like, oh, look, our movie's gory for the sake of being gory. And even if the third collection or collector movie doesn't come out, the second one does kind of end it pretty decently, pretty definitively, I'd say. But again, there's already talks of the third film coming out at some point because it's been like 10 years since the second one. I can't wait. Well, it's actually been 12 years since the second one, but yeah, I hope it comes out sometime this year, next year. Um, but yeah, I have high hopes for this director because I do love what he does. I think the combination of him and the actor Josh Stewart, who's been in a lot of things, I think he's a very they're a very potent combo of actor director. He's done a couple other films, The Neighbor with Josh Stewart and Bill Engvall as the villain, which I'd love to see that. Pilgrim for Into the Dark, the Hulu series, which is basically like super short TV movies, but with decent budgets because it's Blumhouse. Unhuman, which I think is a zombie comedy. I haven't seen it. I'd be okay with watching the rest of his films, but this film. So you have the concept of all these characters in this place are being killed off because they correspond to the seven deadly sins in a very similar way to a serial killer that did the same thing, the SDSK, Seven Deadly Sins killer. Um, and I thought at first I was like, okay, this is an okay premise. I'm fine with this premise. I think you could have some fun kills, a really nice twist. Then I realized that this film is going for comedy, and it doesn't know how to balance the comedy with the horror. One thing the collector and the collection never were was comedy. Because those films take themselves very serious, and I think for the most part they very well fit that tone. Because a lot of the gore was very nasty, in a good way. Because I feel like the films were meant to have you on edge and uneasy. It showed you that this killer was actually a threat. He wasn't just some mythical killer that could survive everything. He could die just like every other killer could die. And it made for, something nice and in a time where there was a lot of like torture porn. Yeah, I guess people would probably label this in the torture porn genre, but it really isn't. But or the collector and the collection. But they mostly just served as a showcase for very impressive practical effects. I think it was Gary J. Tunnicliffe who's worked on a lot of horror films um in the makeup department. Um and the Charlie Clouser score, because the Marcus Dunstan is one of the writers of Saw 4, 5, 6, and 7, which makes sense given what these movies are, even though I think Collector and the Collection are way better than most of the Saw movies. But this film here, with this premise, I can understand having a bit of tongue in cheek because you're doing a commentary on Gen Z and the information era and them having their phones out all the time, but they really don't do much with it. A film that I'd say did a better job of like commenting on our era and how um selfless a lot of or like selfish a lot of people in our era are. There was a horror film called Funhouse that a lot of people seem to hate. I won't say it was perfect, but I think the acting was better. I thought the gore was a lot better. There were a lot of nasty deaths in it, and there was some genuine tension as well. Um, the ending was unexpected and still very interesting. Um, and overall, I had a fun time with it. This, I feel like, again, it's trying too hard to be funny. A lot of the jokes don't really land. A lot of the characters, again, because they're adhering to the seven deadly sins, the film feels the need to write them very stereotypically. Um, so Jade Pettyjohn is like she's like obvious. Sarah's her character is the very obvious good girl, but she'll turn into something else later. So it's like, um, it, it, when it happens, also it comes out of nowhere. Um, I want to talk about what I didn't like before I get into the spoilers because okay, so you have this idea of seven deadly sins, and you're gonna kill these people in ways that kind of reflect the seven deadly sins. So you have the sloth character, or no, the fuck, what is it? Wait, gluttony. I think it was gluttony was the first kill, where something is put in this thing and this guy has a gas mask on, so something's being shoved down his, like he's being forced to inhale something. I think it was helium or something. It was something that was expanding his gut to the point where it fucking exploded. It's a cool effect, but the CG blood overlaid in pissed me off because I'm like, you clearly have a really good practical effect. I don't know why you're going with adding CG blood to this. Maybe it didn't look as disgusting as they wanted it to, so they added a bunch of CG blood, but I feel like this would just look a ton fucking better without. Um, and this happens throughout the film, and it kind of makes a lot of the kills look a lot more lame. The same thing kind of happened in Life After Fighting, the last film I watched, but it wasn't to the point where it made me hate all of the gore or all of the like pretty fucked up shit that was going on. Here, it in a film where like one of the least things you'd have to get right is the kills. The kills are again, they're cool in concept and then they don't do anything with them. And some of them, the CGI makes it to the point where I can't tell what the fuck's happening. The second kill is greed, I think, and the character gets like if people send enough likes, she gets to live, but then the last like is taken off by the killer, which is kind of fucking stupid. Uh, a really retarded way to fucking up the stakes. Like I don't understand why that's a thing. Uh, and then it just felt like somebody making fun of a Saw movie when this is the guy who wrote some of the best in the series, Saw 5, 6. Um, 4 and 7 I can do without as Saw movies. There's things to like in Saw 7, but the weird color correction thing, I can't talk about the Saw series right now. I will be stuck here forever. I just straight up thought Saw 4 was boring. But um the like her skin starts like I guess it was acid, but I don't see what that has to do with greed. At least for gluttony, like the whole thing of like gluttony, eating a lot, his stomach explodes. Cool. That makes sense. Acid for greed. And then the next one is lust, which is the guy who's been sleeping with people's ex-wives. He gets stabbed in the stomach, the chest, and the face with a dildo that has a knife coming out of the tip of it. What does that have to do with lust? I guess because there's a dildo, but like the knife. Oh yeah, and also again CGI blood, so it ends up covering up what was probably a really good practical effect. Even later, there's weird CGI blood over it, and I don't understand why the fuck you do that. Um, Sloth just gets hatcheted in the back and is crawling away, and his top of his head gets cut off. What the fuck does that have to do with Sloth? I don't know. It's almost like not a lot of thought was put into these kills. Uh, the Envy, which I think was supposed to be penis envy because it's the Asian character that likes the main character, and once he gets there, shit goes down really quick, so we don't learn anything about him other than we know he works at a pharmacy and he's trying to get drugs for them to do. And yeah, he just gets stabbed a bunch of times. Uh and our final kill is fucking give me a second. Pride, I think. Um and again, she just gets stabbed a bunch of times. So they kind of give up after the first kill with having anything to do with the seven deadly sins, which is one big issue with this. And then, well, I have to finish off my things I wasn't big on. Um, uh, oh yeah, again, JoJo Siwa being used as like an advertising tool for this movie. She's plastered all over the fucking advertising. She's in the trailer. There was a big clip at some film festival that had her like pacing in the cabin, and that's it that I saw on YouTube, and I was like, this doesn't tell me shit. Mostly because she doesn't have anything to do in the film. I think that was a bit of a mistake because if you are marketing it towards JoJo Siwa stands or fans, whatever, they're gonna be pissed off once they realize that JoJo Siwa isn't really starring in the film. So, bit of an oopsie there. And I have to talk about this ending. So again, spoilers, 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 spoilers. When you get to the end, right before the killer is about to stab Jennifer Enz's character, Jade Pettyjohn ends up stabbing her, and we get the reveal that the killer is Officer Shaw, who apparently earlier when their van tire blew out, she had thrown tacks in the road and somehow rode past them, and their tire blew out, they got stuck, and she took them to the cabin in her car. Find out about this tattoo that she has, and we see that she has the same tattoo. But after that, we find out that Sarah, Jade Pettyjohn's character, was also in on it because apparently she was in love with Colette, JoJo Siwa's character, and I'm going in order of how these twists are doled out because there's a lot of them. They don't explain other than uh Officer Shaw saving Sarah from killing herself after the death of Colette, like jumping off of a bridge into oncoming traffic. Other than that, we don't get much of a reason for them being like a duo. We see them kiss and hug and shit, so I guess they're a couple. But after that, well, they both kill Mona. Then they're arranging them in the way of the Seven Deadly Sins killer. Uh, and then Jade Pettyjohn's character goes outside um to call the cops and act all scared and shit, like pretending. And I'm like, "Oh, is this where the film's gonna end?" No. It keeps going. She's at an ambulance and the officer pulls her aside and they people in the building are like, just like the thing that happened in 2003, which we see news footage at the beginning that's explaining what happened in 2003. People being killed in association with the seven deadly sins. Um, and then we get a clip of Sarah placing a recorder showing that it's Officer Shaw that did it because you can see her tattoo. And we also see in flashback that not only did JoJo Siwa's character not shoot herself, Sarah actually shot her because she thought Mona was at the cabin. And she's the one who actually set the fire, not the 7 people or the 6 people that were killed. Um, so yeah, she accidentally shot Colette. But wait, there's more. The cops come out. Fucking Sarah takes Officer Shaw's gun, now knowing that she knows the truth. She's like, only two can keep a secret if one of them is dead, that whole thing. She gives her the gun back, and then she's like pointing the gun at her, and then they tell her to lower her gun. She lowers her gun. Sarah laughs. She holds the gun up again. She gets shot in the head. And then Sarah is fake crying. She goes back to the ambulance, gets a call from the agent that was trying to that said he didn't want to get her signed up because even though he said earlier that she had something to hide, which ooh, how mysterious. And she said, I'm a survivor, I don't need that, or no, I'm a victim, you don't do victims, you're a survivor, that whole thing. And then see some of the credits. Then it cuts back, and the actual Seven Deadly Sins killer calls her and says that everyone you know is dead. And then we see another title, which I'm guessing they're trying to set up for a sequel to this, which I doubt will ever happen because this didn't get good reviews. And then it's finally over. So, yeah, that's All My Friends Are Dead. Uh, hashtag AMFAD. And yeah, the ending is a fucking mess because okay. I was expecting this film to do the unreliable narrator thing and it not to have actually gone down that way where she just killed herself or for the reason they said. Excuse me. I expected JoJo Siwa to be the killer because I was like, there's no fucking way that they credited her on the poster second build, and she's only in the movie a minute, maybe. So it's a bit of false advertising that she doesn't even come back, and the officer just randomly being a part of it made absolutely no sense to me, other than, again, she's just a lesbian, and again, another lesbian thing that's not well done. Uh, but all the gay horror all of the sites like Queerty and Pink News are saying it's queer as makes it good. How about you ask for better movies? You know, gay movies used to be good. There used to be good gay movies out there. Bent. If you need a good gay movie, I mean it's depressing as fuck and it's based on true events, but Bent, very good gay movie about the Holocaust. But yeah, I'm about done with time about this. I can say a couple things that I liked about this, but not a lot. Again, there's even with the weird CG overlaid blood that doesn't need to be there at all, some of the gore effects are still impressive. The stomach exploding still looks cool, even with the shitty CGI blood. Jade Pettyjohn, I did not mind as a lead. I think she worked well as a lead. It's just her character is so bland because they have to have this twist and they can't have anything be hinted at. And the score by Philip Michael Thomas I thought was pretty good. But other than that, I really did not enjoy this film. I will gladly watch The Collector and the Collection again and a couple of other Mike Dunstan movies, but overall, I did not enjoy this. But yeah, that was my review of AMFAD. All My Friends Are Dead. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.